Number two, how do you collapse an economy and they don't see it? How do you get an economy to be more reliant on yours? So thus you can control them in any way, including perhaps take over easier in the future. What do you do? Well, Hitler, to help collapse countries, he decided to flood the market with fake money. Uh, and there was other tricks too. How do you upgrade tricks like that? Usually into the future, bad guys and everybody think of things that could have worked, perhaps they needed tweaking, other things like that, two in their face, back off on that. How do we collapse economies? Now, in number one, I talked about faulty products, right? And get your economies to buy and waste money on faulty products. You flood the market with it. Next one, if that doesn't work, you go with number two. Number two is you flood the market with appliances that won't last. They're called reliance clients. Right? Reliance on those appliances, on them. They don't last long, they throw away stuff, and you'll start to see the market get flooded. They don't need to be like it, but they're created like it behind the scenes. What do you mean, Tim? Well, you might start finding products a lot that are like the air sucking machine. Now, I recently bought one of those airbags to suck out the air to save meat and all that kind of stuff. Well, empty. And I've noticed this in a lot of areas, including my heat gun, right? And what they've done is they've used technology, as Bella likes to talk about. And they make software where they limit you. Talked about the computers, how old computers get limited to the future. 4 years later, there's still a computer, can still get on the internet, but can't because it doesn't have software, right? Way of controlling, making you want to buy and upgrade new computers. Well, everyone knows that one. The government seem to let it go because it works out in their favour, but I don't see how it's doing it in the long run. But anyway, and so what they're doing now, you could say they're not, you could say it's the mafia from China, whatever it is, they come from an area. And you can treat them perhaps like how Israel treats things. Wherever it comes from, and they're over there and they've got weapons, we're just going to bomb it anyway. We'll tell them, stop, if that ain't, we'll bomb. We'll go Israel approach, right? If you want to fix these things. I guess that's what Israel would recommend. And so what you do is you flood the market with these products, like the heat gun, and even like some of the other things I'm finding too when it comes to DJ things, stuff like that. And what you do is you make them rechargeable. As we've heard, China is dominant when it comes to batteries, right? It wants to sell batteries, right? How could you get two birds in one stone to collapse a company or fuck with a country and its economy and make money? Well, what you do is you make these products, right? I've got one here to grab, which is this heat gun. I've got the green one I've showed you before. It's packed away somewhere. And you have it rechargeable. And you can, when you usually have things rechargeable, you can have two choices when you go to buy these things too. And of course, when you flood the market, you flood it with cheap things, and you flood it so they don't notice it, right? But everyone's going to go for the cheap, definitely if you've already got the market where they need cheap things, you know. So you get them to that part too, which is the other steps, right? You got to put them all together over years, and then all of a sudden you'll find you can make companies weak with selling them dodgy shit, so they make dodgy shit, or you can collapse a country by having just dodgy shit and they can't function properly and wasting their time with dodgy shit and reliant, right? As what reliant means is this heat gun, if you unplug it, leave it plugged in, right, it won't function, so you can't turn it on. So you turn it on. Usually when you're charging things, you can charge it, turn it on. So if you had a torch and it needs charging, you can still turn it on with it in the charger. That's been pretty logical. Still using its charging. It's not as good, won't last as long as it's charged, it's good. Right? You know how that all works, how we're all used to. But now if you pull out if you got the charger in, you can't turn on devices or use them until it's charged. And then when it's charged, you can pull out the charger and then you can use the device. That's how this heat gun works. And then the battery goes flat, right? And then you got to charge it up again. And batteries only have a certain amount of time. So a product won't last that long before you have to replace the battery. But if you can leave the plug in, right, or if it's your laptop or say a machine where you suck out air and it's got a battery in it and you leave the charger in it, you can make them last a long time. Batteries eventually die, so you can probably get 10 years out of it. But if you're using it every day, and they hope you do, and batteries, lithium only goes max to 1,000, they get worse and worse and worse, right? And power, so you'll get less and less suction, less and less heat gun time, right? And then it won't function anymore. You've got to replace the battery. And if you can't even put in the cord, that means you can't even use it. The old laptops, when the batteries died, you can still use them because it just needs the connection, the battery to be the connection for the charger, right? And you can function it so it powers the machine. But they've made programs and little chips to put in there so you can't. So unless you can bypass these chips and know some things, which you can, right, you'll be throwing things away, can't use things. Pretty shocking, eh? But anyway, keep on trucking out there with what you do, and good luck in the market area. And what do you reckon about these products? Because you can't use that sucking machine until you unplug it. Pretty shocking, eh? So about 1,000 times. And if you used it every day, maybe a few times a day, how long would that product last? How long do you think it'll last? Say you used it 3 times a day, that means it'll last around roughly a year to less than a year. That's pretty bad, eh? But if you have it plugged in, you're guaranteed to get about a 10-year lithium battery, a little bit more, a little bit less, depends on when they actually manufactured it, because it has a chemical reaction and material time, right? Batteries, a lot of areas like that. Not 100% into that, but I know enough to know enough. You know what I mean? But anyway, see you later.